DJ John Tavai.
GG, this is John Tavai, your source to knowledge. Tonight is a special segment with a special guest, Allison Holiday, Native American medicine woman, healer, and medium, and also an animal communicator. Welcome to the show, Allison. How you doing?
Hi, how are you, John? Good to see you, and I'm glad you have me here. Thank you.
Yes. Well, it's a pleasure to have you,
Yeah.
as our guest for tonight's show. I think the name itself kind of gives the people an idea of what you do, but just elaborate more. Tell us, walk me through your journey.
Okay.
What led you to become what you are today?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of complicated, so I'll try to shrink it a little bit. I don't know how much I can, but I was born basically, it starts in this lifetime, it starts at birth. I was born deathly ill from birth to 4.5. I could barely eat anything. It was like a mystery illness. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. They never did. And at 4.5, I had my first near-death experience. And basically my light team, my angels, each person that's born is assigned a light team of angels. It can be people that have passed in our lineage. It could be like your grandmother jumps in at times, but we're also just assigned like a guardian angel and a light team that looks after us our whole life. They swooped in, saved me. And the next day I was eating regular food and I was gaining weight and all these different things. And then I was just a very different, sensitive kid, very hypersensitive, like a super empath. Hypersensitive about everything. So I was picked on a lot, made fun of with my family and with other people, friends at times, and different things. I was just always different. And I felt things so differently in animals and different things. And then basically at around 6 or 7 years old, I had a galactic being visitation experience that was really cool. It wasn't scary at all. It was really cool. I disappeared for about 5 hours, I guess, and came back.
I'm gonna let you finish though, because that sounds
It came back. I don't have any memory of it other than
you don't. Okay.
No, other than it feels positive, like it feels beneficial. It never felt negative to me. So I never had to go under a hypnosis like some people do, or like try to heal from it or something. I never felt that way. It always felt really like loving and benevolent for me. I was about 6 or 7. I don't know. I don't remember exactly how old I was. So again, I was just always very, very different. And I remember being a child and standing on my bed one time and calling my mom in and saying, well, I can't get off my bed. I was jumping and playing on my bed. And then I couldn't get off the bed because the whole floor was fire. And she looked at me and she said, no, it's not. It's carpet. And I said, no, it's fire. Like I had all these bizarre experiences. And I wasn't sleeping. She remembers it too. Like I wasn't sleeping, but I wouldn't step off my bed because it was fire. So I always had these very strange experiences as a kid. And then when I turned 40, I got deathly ill again, the same mystery illness, the same thing. They couldn't figure it out again. And I had about 6 organs shutting down. I weighed about 85 pounds. And I'm 110 pounds now, so it's not like I'm a big person. So I was just really skinny. And they tested me for cancer, everything they did as a kid, like trying to figure it out. But it's basically spiritual illness, and they never can diagnose that or figure that out. And so around 41, right as I was turning 41, I had my second near-death experience. And that one I remember very well.
So it's actually back to back the year next, or the year after, I mean?
No. So I got sick in 2016 at 40. And then at 41, I was still sick and had a near-death experience.
Okay.
Yeah, I was pretty much touch and go, very extremely ill for a year and a half straight. And then I slowly started to heal out of it. But after that near-death experience that I had at 41 was when all these different abilities started to click in. And they just started to get stronger. And I had them as a kid, but I didn't know. And then I was made fun of and ridiculed. So I stuffed it down. So I just learned to stuff it down and pretend I was normal, which obviously we'll get into it. I'm not normal. So well, that goes without saying.
You like to be normal though? Like, who wants to be normal?
Yeah, right. It's boring. Forget it. Exactly. And I'm not weird. I'm just unique. I'm just different.
Right. That's the
Yeah.
great term.
Yeah. I don't like weird. Makes me seem like there's something wrong, and there's nothing
Right.
wrong with who I am. Um, I'm grateful to have all these abilities to be able to heal and help people on Zoom. I have clients all over the world. So I'm so grateful to be able to do the work that I do from this. So yeah, and then I got sick again actually last summer, and I had a third near-death experience last September on my bed in where I live right now. Um, and yeah, so that's the third one. So yeah, I guess it's very rare. I read this thing not long ago that it's very rare to have three in one lifetime. So again, I'm not like everybody else. It's boring. So why not have three? You know, one is so much fun. Let's have three.
Let me ask you this, because I think how would you consider someone who has a spiritual awakening though? Because I mean, I'm just, I'm asking for myself though, because I didn't have like a near-death experience, but it was a moment though that something just really hit me.
Yeah.
As I woke up and I just didn't feel the same anymore.
Mm.
And I just couldn't figure it out, like what was going on with me inside.
Yeah.
So how would you actually define someone having a spiritual awakening though?
Yeah. So it can be an illness, it can be a trauma, it can be sudden like that. I work with people that have had it in meditation, and they feel like this like massive energy shift, and then they're permanently shifted. They're not the same. It happens in myriad ways, many different ways. It's not one specific thing for each person, because we're all unique and we all have different paths, and we all have different journeys and childhoods and families and all these different things. And so a lot of the work I do is public speaking, and I do groups and a lot of like spiritual ascension teaching and things like this, and coaching sort of that way. From everything I can do with my spiritual abilities and everything I've been through. So there's no like right or wrong about the path, but then you're on it and you don't get off. That's the trick, right? So the trick is that once you're on it, there's really no way to unwind it. And, like I've been vegan for almost 30 years now, I guess. I don't know. I was a kid. Wow. And it's a lot of vegetarians are vegan. Once you learn about factory farming or these different issues, it's hard to like unlearn it and go back. Sometimes it happens, but it's pretty rare for somebody to go vegetarian or something and then like unlearn that. So a near-death experience or a spiritual path or a spiritual awakening experience is the same type of thing. It's you're like you said, you're shifted. There's a change and you don't really go back. In 2018, the beginning of 2018, as I was ascending rapidly and going through all these things after my near-death experience, my second one, I had a lucid dream one night and woke up the next morning and was like on a completely different vibration, and I never went back. Very extreme. I had a quantum jump that night in a lucid dream while I was sleeping. I witnessed myself in the dream up above myself have a stroke on the floor, and this being said to me, now you'll have a stroke and you get up and live your real life. And that morning I realized I don't have any childhood memories anymore. Gone, wiped, gone.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Gone, completely gone. Now I can very vaguely remember things. And because of my channeling abilities, I can connect to my higher self, and I can, someone said to me a year ago, hey, do you remember we used to camp out in the yard with a tent? And I said, oh yeah, one moment. And I connect to my higher self. And then the information comes to me. Yes, I remember the tent. I remember your mother's strawberries up the path, and we would eat those wild strawberries. Like so that. I can access it. But the reason why the beings and everybody, all my spiritual buddies that I work and channel with to heal people, the reason why they do that to people, and then why they did that to me, was because at some point in a spiritual awakening process, you can't have the past inform the future. They want you to live right now, because right now is all there is. The future is a dream. It's fantasies. You make that. You set an intention and you manifest and you make that. And the past is usually a lie, right? Because we make people better than they were. I miss him so much. You hated it when you were with him. It's a jackass. You're like, what?
Oh my God.
Like, it's a lie, right? And,
Yeah.
you know, and maybe it's supposed to be because we're grieving and we're releasing and we're letting things go, but we don't want to live in pain in the past. We can't have the pain in a healed way and form the path forward. We can't have that. And so they just cut it all for me. I just live in the
difficult
flow.
for people. Why do you think it's difficult for people to really still cling on the past so much, though? Because of the
Yeah.
pain been through, the trauma, and
Yeah, because they end up with attachment to it. They end up with attachment and they end up identified with it. It's the same thing as people with a chronic illness. Like I've had illness issues for my entire lifetime on and off. You can settle into a diagnosis and that label and that energy, and you go to the doctor and you get tests around it, and then you and there's so much energy on it that you merge with it basically in your nervous system and your subconscious mind, definitely. And you become your disease or disorder, and it becomes like one with you. And it's very hard to unwind that. And so trauma and pain and abuse, I grew up with some funky childhood stuff as well that was pretty intense. And when you're in that place, until you heal and balance that trauma, it's like you're reliving. It's like PTSD in a way. You're reliving it. Everything becomes reactive and defensive, like who's going to hurt me? And you get very on edge. And then you get into a trauma response of the people that hyper control everything, right? Like they have to control everything, because if any little thing is out of control, they freak out because they're afraid. There's only two emotions Marianne Williamson talks about. There's fear and love. So are you going to come from a fearful place, or are you going to come from a loving place? Because love is trust, freedom, joy, bliss. That's what it's like on the other side. Just bliss and freedom. And over here, it's fear-based. It's very like the 3D, the third dimension is very fear-based. Scarcity, fear, you know, control, right? Manipulation. If we're run 95% by our subconscious mind and only 5% is our conscious mind, everything that we're around is programming us constantly. People,
absolutely,
ads, TV,
absolutely,
everything.
Absolutely.
You have to spend time to curate your life. Seriously. Throw the TV out. You know, sometimes people come to my house, they go, wait, you don't have a TV. I go, are you out of your mind? Why would I have a TV? You also don't have a microwave. I always throw it back at them and I say, okay, well, you tell me how a microwave cooks your food. Well, it's rated. What's that word? What does it do?
Oh, radioactive.
Well, get it out of your house. You know, it's like, it's just like, I've always been.
Oh my God.
You know,
that's so true. Wow. So I mean, you kind of talked about a little bit about the 3D, 4D, but I mean, for our listening viewers, though, can you elaborate more and explain to us, like, what is that 3D when you 3D to 4D and so forth?
Yeah. So the third dimension is like the lower density. So think of it this way. I always say in my teachings, like Earth is a school, right? And that's why it's so hard, because we're getting these lessons over and over. And that's why we keep getting in patterns and we recreate the same thing over and over. It's to wake us up, like that spark, to wake us up and go, oh my gosh, I have to start living in a new way. And then to get us to awaken and heal. And then we graduate Earth, go off to another happy, blissful dimension, and we don't have to come back again. We don't have to incarnate in these lives over and over, learning these lessons. You know, so the 3D is like the base level, basically. It's fear-based, it's lack, scarcity, the news, the wars, all this like trauma and pain.
Oh my God.
And then you go up to the 4D, and that's where you start to question things. The fourth dimension is a little awakened. Because then you go, am I supposed to trust the government? Look at racism. Look at this. Look at the way Native Americans are treated on reservations still to this day. If the government water truck doesn't show up, they have to walk 8 miles or something crazy to get water. I mean, it's just, and that's going on right now. So, you know, these issues and these things that go on are like that spark where you go, was history class right? You know, and you start to go,
to question a lot of things that you thought you saw. So in other words, you basically start to challenge your belief system, in other words.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then you start to dig. and you
Okay.
read maybe like Howard Zinn's The People's History of the United States,
Oh,
and
yeah,
some of
yeah.
the truth, right? And you start to dig and you go, what's this about? And what's that about, right? And you start to unpack some of the stuff because you realize that a lot of the stuff we're taught in schools and stuff, it's a lie. It propagates a white man's story for power,
Oh, yeah.
right? And that's
Absolutely.
what it's about. And so the more that we kind of feed into that, the more it's self-perpetuating. Exactly. So you crack
Wow.
open. And then you want to get out of that because you don't want to stay in that because that's still angry because you're pissed, right? It's okay.
I was going to actually, wow.
Yeah, because you're pissed, right? You get to that station, you're
That's
like,
exactly
I don't
how I
like that.
felt when I
Mhm.
was actually going through that. Because, you know, when you actually have a certain belief system and all your life you believe in that, and all of a sudden you start to question it, and then later on you find out that it was all a lie, it could also take you to a form of depression too, though, because
Yes,
it's like, you know, you'd like, although you know it's not true, but you're still at disbelief. You know,
yes,
it makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah, absolutely. Like there's a period where it's almost like you're grieving in a way or something, like you're processing like a lifetime of BS, like on all these
Right,
different things,
right.
and you're like, oh my gosh, like, you know, like you're just like, yeah, you have to go through that. It's almost like, I think of it, maybe grief is the wrong word, but it's almost like a grieving process because there's steps, right? But yeah, because you can go through, you're depressed, frustrated, then you get anxious, then you get a little like unsure of everything, distrusting of things, then you're pissed, right?
Yeah,
You're going to go through
yeah.
this like whole process, and I think it's normal. It's when your wool is taken off, right? And you can see everything for what it really is. You know, and but but again, we can't stay there.
Can't
The
stay.
goal for humans is to be fifth dimensional, and the fifth dimensional, I actually wrote something about it
Mm,
when I do teaching. So basically what the fifth dimension is about, it's not a destination, it's a vibration.
mm,
Everything is frequency, right? Whatever you put out is what you get back. If
right,
you're angry, you're going to get more things to be pissed about.
right. That
If
is
you're sad, you're going to get more things to cry about. It's nobody's fault, it just is. We
right.
go through ups and downs. It's how it works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because everything is vibrating, right?
Right.
We may not see it with
Exactly.
our naked eye, but
Right.
everything is vibrating.
Everything is energy. Exactly. And
Right.
so whatever you put out, I'm successful, I'm strong, I'm this, I'm that, then that's what's going to radiate and come around you.
Right.
I don't drink alcohol. It's very extremely low vibrational poison to the body. So
Mm,
I don't drink alcohol. I live in so I don't like have close friends or people that are close to me that are heavy drinkers. They may drink a little bit here and there, but they're not heavy drinkers because that's not what I'm not doing anything intentionally. It's just not my vibe. It's just
right. No,
not
no.
like
Absolutely.
what I'm jiving with, you know? So it's okay, you know? But the fifth dimension is the goal. So you wake up through that process, and it takes, sometimes people are stuck in the 4D for many years, and you hope that they heal their heart a little bit and let forgiveness in, right?
I think that's the biggest crutch you got to
Because
figure.
We can't change it. And
Yeah.
if we
That's the
can't
biggest
change
crutch.
it and we're wrong, we got to forgive it and make peace with it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. I think because could you say because of ego too, you know, that they hold on
Yeah,
to grudges
it
and
could be. It could be. I mean, there's an indignation that can happen where it's like, well, who are you to think that you're not going to have challenges or people crap on you for things at certain points in your life? Who are you to think you're special? That's what the game is here.
right,
That's
right.
part of the hooks and traps. That's what Earth is. It's what your reaction is to it. You let their stuff stay over there, realize it's an unhealed projection onto you, and you let it all stay out here and you go, that's okay. That's all right.
Hmm.
That's okay. You can be that way. And you're just working through your stuff. And that's all right on your journey. But I don't need to take it on lashing at me or get upset. So the fifth dimension is really when you're no longer attached or shackled to what you're experiencing. So you're like outside, like the observer. And when you're the observer, you're just in a flow of unconditional love. Everything can be exactly as it needs to be. You don't care. You're detached from it in a loving way. Someone can scream at a mailman, someone can do this, someone can do that. And you just go, okay, like it's unfortunate or whatever. And I send them love and light, but
Right.
you're not like in it. Jesus had a great way of saying it. Be in the world, but not of the world. And Rumi says it, I go to the marketplace, but I'm not a purchaser.
Wow.
It's like you're in it, but you're not in it, right? You're like you're outside of all of the chaos and you're vibrating on a different frequency. And that's the way it's all designed to be. That's how it's because when you're the observer, you resonate with your feelings more. Oh, look how I feel walking into this room. Oh, look how I feel right now. You're not like you're not those feelings exactly. You're separated from it and you like can look at it like, wow, like you're in a museum looking at a painting. You're
Mm,
like, you
mm,
become the observer. It allows you to feel your frequency. And when you're attached to being human all the time, you blame everything on somebody else. You're reactive. How dare you cut me
right,
off?
right.
Well, who are you? I challenge that with who are you to
Mm,
talk about ego? Who are you that someone's not going to cut you off? That's the
right, right,
game. That's what this is. People are going to cut you off. It's going to happen. What are you
right,
going to do about it? You're going to let it go?
right, right. And I think a lot of people suffer with that because, I mean, one thing, I mean, I'm going to speak from my personal experience, and maybe you could definitely, tell me more about, that whole, transition, I'll say. The mind definitely was playing a lot of tricks,
Mm.
if I want to like, explain it that way. But I started to really learn more about conquering my mind and knowing that, you know, um, the mind is not me. I am the mind. I control the mind.
Yes.
And that's how I was
Yes.
able to really master the mind, because I think who said it, the mind could be a beautiful servant, but as well a dangerous
Yes.
master.
Yes.
And that's
Exactly.
what I
Yes.
definitely learned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because our thinking mind, we only need that about 20% of the time. Taxes, money, logic, math, things like this,
Right.
right? I get that. We need it to stay safe in some way. I understand that. I'm not saying to get rid of it completely. We can't. But
Mhm.
mastering it is the key because they're studying it now too with science. Um,
Mhm.
the Heart Math Institute is a great place that's been studying this for years. The intuitive heart mind, that's
Mm.
the true mind. Like in Western culture, we're obsessed with the thinking mind and all these the high things and
That is
degrees,
so
this,
true.
and it's
That is,
all ego. It's all mind
it
based,
is. It is.
not in from the intuitive heart mind. So it's always going to like lead you the wrong way. You know,
Mm.
if you want a great job, right, and there's something you love to do, I don't care if it's working at Target, right?
Mhm.
And you love Target and you want to work at Target, and the only job they have open is to mop the floor. Well, guess what? You go in and you mop that floor, and the best that you mop that floor, they will recognize that and move you right up.
Mm.
It's not about chasing the money. If you're aligned with what you love, right?
Right.
If you're in alignment with what gives you joy and bliss and love, the money and all the moving up and whatever you need is all going to fall into line. If you're chasing a six-figure paycheck, but you hate that job, watch it fall apart.
Wow.
It's going to fall apart. It's going to your boss who is really nice that hired you is going to quit. You're going to get a nightmare person in, and it's just going to be like this slog of stuff until
And that
you
oh,
get
that happens. That happens.
yes,
That
and
happens.
they get louder. The universe gets louder. God, source, universe. It's all the same to me. It doesn't matter the words.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, you know, uh, it gets louder and louder and louder to get you to listen. It'll get sometimes kind of dangerous at times to get you to listen because it's just trying to get your attention. We have to listen to our intuitive, our deep gut feeling, our knowing. And we always know. We
Right.
always know. And then we do something out of scarcity and fear in the mind. And we go, but if I don't take the money, then I won't be able to put my kids through college and work. And that's fear. So now you're making a decision from scarcity and fear. And if you're making that choice from that mindset, the money's never even going to stay with you because you're going to lose the job, right?
Mm.
So it's all about love first, unconditional love
Oh,
and flow and acceptance and trusting and loving yourself and your intuitive knowing. And the more you know that, everything else comes from that.
perfect. That's perfectly well said right there, because I could definitely relate to everything you're saying right now. But why do you think a lot of people have a difficult time of trusting their own tuition though?
Yeah.
Like something is
Yeah.
saying they feel it's not right, but they still continue to make
Yeah.
poor decisions. And I mean,
Mhm.
because I'm just going off people that I've been around with, and it's unfortunate though.
Yeah. It's hard. to watch it.
It is. It is. It is.
Yeah, it is. And we're not perfect either, right?
Right,
We're
right.
still human, you and I, John.
Right.
We're still perfect too. And we're going to make mistakes too, because that's being human. But it is hard when people are really, really locked in it over and over. They date the same guy or marry the same guy over and over and over and over. And you're like, oh my gosh, I love you. Stop. Like, what can I do to heal or help you? You know, like,
Oh my God.
some of it's hard. It really is.
It is.
And they're going to find it in their own journey in their own way, but it is challenging. But I think not trusting ourselves and letting it go to let it flow, that phrase you always hear, let it go, let it flow. It's true. Most of my life for the last 4 years, especially, has been just getting out of the way. If I'm in the way, I'm in my mind. I'm in that scarcity part.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right? And I'm trying to control things. If I stop and I get out of the way and I just set a loving intention on what I need, then things will start to move and come into my space. It's about trusting and getting out of the way. But some of the ways we don't trust ourselves, we don't have enough self-love for ourselves. I was given a lot of that messaging as a child with my family. And we have to heal that. But we can't just keep going in it. We have to heal it. We have to get to a space of healing it and moving through it, right? And balancing that so that we have our own self-love, reparenting our inner child who was neglected or not loved the way they needed or supported, that told them as a child to second guess themselves. Well, if you're not good enough or you aren't smart enough or your parents tell you this or a teacher or whatever it is over and over, you get that messaging. And then you grow up and you think,
it becomes embedded in your subconscious.
I can't make a proper decision. Right. I'm going to make the wrong decision.
Right.
So you have to literally heal it by going back to the childhood, inner
you have
child.
to go back to it and then do like just kind of like back to it. And then what though? Like when you go back into it, like how do you?
One of the ways I did it was I hung out with myself. So a little bit of background on it. So from birth to 7, we're in a theta brainwave state and we're a sponge. So you know how we always say, oh, learn a language when you're 5 or the piano or whatever, because you are a sponge. That's the point.
Right.
But that's also for good and bad. Right. So also for the first 3 years of our lives, we're still building our nervous system. Okay. So any trauma that goes on from birth to 3, orphanage type situations, it could be neglect, it could be abuse in foster homes, different things like this, could be sadly a drug addicted parent, baby, from birth to 3, we're looking at very serious stages of setting up a dysregulated nervous system and trauma, unfortunately. If you make it past 3, that's pretty good. And if you can make it past 7, that's really good. But that messaging is in there. And by 7, society and your ego starts to form and all this stuff and it starts to kind of taper out for most people,
Right.
But yeah, it's whatever messaging you kind of got. So I kind of pretended that little Allie was always with me for a couple of months. She'd be sitting in my passenger seat in my car when I drive around, and I would be like, well, what do you want to listen to? And I put music on that like the 7-year-old me would love. And I just tried to like hang out with her like she was a little person with me and just love her and give her whatever she wanted, and just draw with her. I drew with her by the water. I live in Providence, Rhode Island, so I live on the ocean. So like we drew by the water, all the buildings and stuff. And I just hung out with her. And I loved her and gave her all that attention and all that love that she needed.
That is so beautiful because that's exactly what I did. I went back and I just imagined myself in my mind hugging myself because I was never given that type of nurture. Although, I had my mother, but she wasn't really emotionally there for us.
Yeah.
But, I knew that I was lacking that a lot, which made me it made me feel insecure at times, a lot of times.
Oh, me too. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I definitely relate what you were saying right now because you just took me back. That's why, I was like, wow, that's the same thing I did.
Yeah.
I just looked back and just hugging myself. And it just
because we have to be there for them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
in the ways that people weren't instrumental, people weren't maybe there for us. There's a book, and I forget the book, so I'm sorry, but it's not mine. It's from a book. When you're 5 and your parent is neglectful like that or abusive, it could be a whole range of things. The 5-year-old can't not love their parent. So what the 5-year-old does is they turn to themselves and go, well, mommy doesn't love me, so I'm bad.
Right. Yeah.
Because you don't have the same emotional intelligence at 5 as you do at 40.
Right.
Just
Right.
it's not there.
Yeah.
So that's how we set that stage with it. And then we start to not, back to your point, not trust people or trust ourselves as we make decisions as an adult. And we keep making like flubs and like mistakes and like all these things because we second guess ourselves.
Right.
So reparenting and going back to that and then kind of moving that through is what's so, I think, crucially important. And I see it a lot in my work. I have clients, like I said, on Zoom all over the world. And whether I'm doing mediumship or animal communication or healing one-on-one with people with all sorts of different mental issues or physical issues, different things, I can connect and tap into the person, feel what they're feeling. It doesn't stay with me, but I can do that and figure out what the root is. And it could be this life from childhood. It could be their husband gets in a sudden, is their soulmate and gets in a sudden car crash. And 6 months later, they explode in cancer with no cancer in their family. Wow. It's trauma. It's trauma. It's pain. Right. And it lowers your immune system and you explode in illness. All illness is in the etheric body, the energetic body first, and then it settles in.
That's what I'm about to ask you. Okay.
Yeah. So there's always, I can track like, and I'm so quick working with people because I'm so busy. Like I can feel, and plus I have like almost constant telepathy. So I know and feel pretty much when I talk to people, what they're going to ask me, what they're going to say. So I'm very quick. I'll be like, okay, were you this? Okay. Were you incubator baby? Okay. Did you have jaundice when you were born? Okay. And I'll track it and I go, you got autoimmune issues. What'd you get? A tick bite, chronic Lyme? And they're like, how do you know? It's like, cause I see the same things over and over and over and over. Yeah. It's just, it's like, it's amazing doing it for years because I can track so many things of, well, my father was an alcoholic or my this was this. And then I see the health problems and it's so similar. It's really, it's actually really fascinating.
That's
fascinating.
Amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You mentioned about communicating with animals, though. I want to ask you this personal question, though, because sometimes I feel like I have pet birds, right? It might sound a little bit crazy, but like they know my mood.
Yeah, no,
because
they
they're
do.
around me for so long. I mean, I know cats are they very like they could tell a lot to cats, but for me, birds though, because I have four birds, but for some reason, like they know my mood, like they feel it.
Oh yeah, they can feel. Well, we're animals too.
Right,
I think
right. Oh yeah, yes.
We forget that, right? We forget. We love to forget that. I don't know why.
Because we're the most superior species.
I know, but we're in the web, not above the web. And
right.
I think one of the reasons we forget that we're animals is because there's probably a lot of cognitive dissonance or consciousness or guilt around what we do to animals.
Big time.
There's less than 50% of wildlife left. I mean, it's a tragedy what goes on with animals, and it's their earth too. They have a right to live, and they have a right to live in peace, and they have a right to be here. It's just as equal as us. And I work with people that lose a cat or a dog or a bird or a horse, a lot of horses I work with now, all different species of animals. And that loss to a human, they've studied it. It's no different than the loss of another human. It's the bonding and the connection and the love and the unconditional love and just everything. It's like, it's amazing. And then the things they say to me, they make me laugh. They all have a different personality. Everything. They make me joke and laugh and everything. And I love healing animals because they're all instinctual. They don't have ego. So like, for instance, if they lose an eye, they just go, okay, well, I lost an eye, but I still have this eye, and they move on. Where if we lose an eye, oh, I lost my eye. And we go into this like whole thing, and it makes it so much harder to heal. It makes it so much harder to balance, move forward. Animals go, okay, I can still see. And they're just like, whatever. And so I just heal and do different things if they have anxiety, separation anxiety, different things. I'll blend different energies and beings channeling through me and different stuff to heal them of that trauma.
Mm. Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Because I always question that because animals, like you just said it, you kind of really answered it for me already about they're not really as conscious as I say us humans, right? We're more conscious. We really is more aware of our surroundings, although they have, like you said, the instinct though.
Yeah.
Um, but I want to actually ask you another question in regards of religion, because we tend to, I went through my phases as far as I think when you explained it, a 3D, 4D, which I really strongly know. I ain't believe it. I think I know I went through a spiritual awakening because I just felt so
Yeah.
different when I started
Yeah.
questioning about everything.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
yeah. But I'm so glad that I went through it because it definitely made me look at life from a different lens now, opposed to how I looked at life before, because everything was superimposed on you. Because you're right, everything that you from your beginning of your upbringing, everything's being programmed. It's like every word that you say has been taught to you one way or another. The same thing goes with your belief system and your behavior, the way you think. So I'm so glad I actually went through that. But there's other people too that don't necessarily go through what I went through, but they found a way to find religion. So I want to ask you, what are your thoughts about religion though? And for those who actually, because I know a couple of people that they got more religious though. But like, what's your thought about that though?
Yeah. So in one sense, I believe there's many ways to God. God is love. God is the energy and the vibration of the universe and creation and love and spirit, and it's wonderful. And there's many ways. But we want to, I think the best thing that we can do is to break out of anything that could be controlled or kind of shackled to a belief. Because if it's duality, if it's right and wrong and judgment and you're bad because you are homosexual or you're this or that, if it's any judgment or any of that, that's not God. That's not it.
Right.
The whole point is non-duality. You want everything gray, everything belongs. If it's here, we have to find a way to love it. It doesn't matter if it's, somebody who's different than you or has different beliefs or opinions than you. It doesn't matter. I used to be the older version of myself, the younger version of myself, rather, like this very traumatized, reactive, opinionated person. I had an opinion about everything. I was just this hyper marching, protesting liberal. Oh God, I was like, oh my God. And then I woke up.
Yeah.
And I, like you, and I'm in a space of just loving everybody. It's not about anger. It's your delivery. It's about loving and accepting what is, and you have to love it to heal it. You have to meet it where it is and love it through. And that's how you heal something, not by yelling. Mother Teresa is a hero of mine. And she has this great little story. They said, Mother Teresa, we're doing an anti-war rally. Will you come? And she said, no, absolutely not. Look at what you're saying. Anti, negative, war, what you don't want. You're asking for more of it, right?
Wow.
Now, if you make a pro-peace rally, I'll be right there.
Oh, wow.
Everything is energy and messaging. And that's what I woke up into. Like I went out, and got out of the non-duality and went into the gray, into everything belongs. Like Richard Rohr would say, everything belongs, and with that, if it's here, we have to find a way to love it because it's here. If it's here and there's no mistakes in this ride, if there's no mistakes and everything is in divine timing, then we have to find a way to love it. People that are screaming around like the old me, they're screaming around and everything else, like they need a hug and love.
Yeah.
They need somebody to love them and meet them where they are.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what side, because there are no sides.
There are no sides. Yeah. One thing I've learned, only hurt people hurt people.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing happens to you for you to hurt somebody else.
Right.
And it's unfortunate though.
Yeah.
But I also want to ask you another question. Like, how do you handle like someone who's an atheist, someone who just has no belief
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's all bullshit. There's no such thing as vibration, frequency. When we die, it's it. There's nothing going to happen after that.
Yeah.
It's going to be pure black.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't longer
Um,
exist. Like, how do you address that?
It's funny, I don't, so for the same time, like about 4 years of my life, like heavy drinkers don't really come close to me, like different things, unless I'm healing them and, we're working together in sessions to get out of alcohol or whatever, that's different. But on like a family basis or like chosen family or friend basis,
Mhm.
I don't really get around atheists. It's not my vibration. It's not my frequency. So I
Do
don't
you
get
actually
around it.
feel it though? Like if you are in a particular environment, you could actually sense someone who has that you already know this
Oh
person.
yeah. I mean, they're very they tend to be more logic, head mind, very head mind. Yeah,
Okay.
they're all here. There's not a lot of intuitive heart mind because the intuitive heart mind is loving and free and spacious and mellow and it's moving and sensing. It goes by sensing. It's not logic and we have to A plus B is C and this and that. And it doesn't work like that. It's emotion, it's feeling. And so they tend to be locked more in their head mind than they are in their heart mind. And for whatever reason, they just don't have that fluidity to believe in anything.
Mhm.
So whether it could be, Abrahamic religion that's very structured or spirituality, which is more open, just whatever it may be, they shut the door on all of it. And it's fear,
Yeah.
love or fear, right? So
Wow.
it's fear. There's something there that they have to know because they have to know, and I know what it is. You know, and you can have atheists that have near death experiences. I've met them.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I've met them, and they die and they go on the other side and they go, whoa, and they come back and they go in seminary or they become a
Wow.
pastor or a healer or a spiritualist or whatever. Oh
Wow.
yeah, because they go, oh my gosh, I was wrong, and that's okay too. They
Wow.
had to go through that experience. They had to go through that to kind of like you were saying before, like wake up, like have that. Yeah.
Because I heard stories that um of atheists that went down to South America and they tried what's that ayahuasca
Ayahuasca. Yeah.
and they just transformed. They
Yeah.
came a new
Hmm.
person and
Yeah.
they see the world so differently now and they no longer are atheists now.
Yeah. They're like open. Yeah.
Open.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can do that with
That's
different psychedelics. You could do that mushrooms or peyote or all sorts of different things.
mm.
I've done some of those in a very specific set and setting. It's not a party drug. It's a spiritual lesson and journey that you go
You
on.
got to go through a whole process though when you're about to do something like that. You got to
Yeah,
really,
I mean, I make sure
so
that everything that I haven't done it in a couple of years now, but yeah, I'm in the woods. I'm definitely in nature. And I just kind of do it to see what the next step is or what do they need to show me right now. It's a teacher. It's a teacher.
teacher.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a teacher and it's opening you up to different level. I can be in a room at a party and I can look at everyone and tell who's done it and who hasn't, who's seen
Get
behind the
out of
curtain.
here.
Oh yeah, who's seen behind the curtain and who hasn't. It's like, yeah, it's palpable. It's pretty
Wow.
because they're just more open. They're on a different vibration. It's just different.
Mm.
They've seen all the different colors and all the so like my my first near death experience. So there's beings around us that we can't see. They're breathing in your ear right now. They're all over. I mean, I can't see them right now, but like there's beings all around us. And when we're on different frequencies, we can communicate with these beings. And like I'm a channeler, so I can communicate with all sorts of different beings. Um, but basically, when you cross to the other side and you're on the other side, there's beings that talk with you and communicate with you. I was trying to negotiate with them in my second one. I was saying, well, I don't have children and I don't really have a family, like a close knit family like that. So I can just stay here. Like it's because it's bliss. You don't want to go. Like it's bliss. And they showed me this big white wall of moving light.
Wow.
And it was endless. It was huge. Um, And there were dogs there. That was really cool. Like there were animals there. It was amazing. And the wall of light is moving. And they laughed in this way where they laughed in this way like, oh, silly human. Oh, like you can't negotiate here. I don't know why you think you can. And they pointed me to the white light and they said, this is what all humans are on Earth. And they've lost their way and forgot who they are. And you have to go back and plug them in and, remind them of who they are. Wow. So I laugh because you keep your personality on the other side. I'm a medium, so I connect with people that have passed, people that have lost loved ones or animals or whichever, and I connect with them. I can feel if the guy was like an engineer type, right? Or like a military dad, or if they're like really loving and funny and like warm grandmas or what. I feel exactly who they are. And having died and come back, I know exactly. I said dope over there and I shocked myself. Like I said, well, that's kind of dope. And then I went, whoa. And they laughed at me. The beings laughed at me and said, well, what do you think? You don't keep your personality? Your soul stays your soul. Right. And it like blew my mind because I said a word like Allison Holiday would say here, and I was like, and they're like, and then they brought me back and I was depressed for 3 days because I didn't want to be here. Earth is very low density. It's low. It's like a lot of people that like, we wouldn't even be on Earth if we were healed. So you have to have empathy and compassion for everybody here because we're working it out or we wouldn't be here. So,
wow.
That's deja vu. It's like, we've already done this. We've done this podcast. We know each other. We already, you know what I mean? Right. And there's those glitches that happen because nothing's perfect.
Right. Nothing's perfect. That is very true. Mm-hmm. I want to ask you this question too, though. Like, I mean, one thing I always think about too, and eventually it's going to happen, dying, right?
Yeah.
And that you had the near death experience. What actually happens? One transitions. That's the way I look at it. People tend to say pass away, deceased.
Cross.
To use that, yeah.
Yeah.
Use transition to something else.
Yeah, transition's good. Cross is good. I'll say that. Like I'll have to go in some homes and cross a spirit that's stuck. It happens. It happens. Children don't know they're dead. They're looking for their mom. That's very sad. When I first did this years ago, I would cry. It was really hard. Now I'm just more used to it a little bit. Sudden death. They get trapped a lot sometimes. Say you're at the top of a staircase, you're not sick or anything, and you slide and like fall down and die. They can get trapped sometimes in a house, and they just kind of relive what they were doing when they were alive. Like wow. I had to cross one that was just putting fire in the fireplace, and the little boy that lived in the house could see him. Mommy, there's a guy. He's just putting fire in the special kid, and he's putting like me. You can put fire in the fireplace, and so I crossed him. And his wife, I opened the door to bring in to help cross him. And she said, thank you to me. It was really beautiful. And I said, you're welcome. He doesn't want to be stuck here for 50 years or whatever it was, So yeah, one thing to remember is the soul, the energy, the soul, the spirit doesn't ever die. So now we get into the space that the spirit chooses the soul chooses a body to live out the life on Earth, to go through this experience, this school. So now I throw this to you. We don't die. We don't, because we can't die. We can't die because energy can transform, but it can't ever go. Right. So my father passed years ago, and I still connect and talk to him all the time. He's with me all the time. My grandmother's with me all the time as well. Some ancestors are just closer with you. Other ones doesn't mean they didn't love you. They're just not the ones like really looking out for you all the time. It's not a mistake. But my dad's energy, right, is still there. And all that died was the body that we rented.
The body, right.
Just the body. And when we lose attachment to the body, we will grieve things much quicker. I grieve most things in 3 days for years, 3 days. And I'm a mess for 3 days. I'm crying. I'm unconsolable. I'm a wreck. It's about 3 days. And then I pop out. my dad, when he died, like a romantic relationship, maybe, like whatever it is, it's like 3 days of really bad. And then I pop out and I can balance, because it's just attachment to the body. The energy is still here. So I do a lot in hospice with transitioning people spiritually at the end of life, animals, and in homes, and then hospice for humans. And when I do that, I understand, and I try to explain this to the families, like, even if you don't have spiritual abilities as a medium like me, that's okay. If you talk out loud, they hear you. The energy is still here. It can't go anywhere.
Can't go anywhere.
No. So we're just, the body dies. But that's hard for people. People have attachment to the body. If you lose a family member or a loved one, what do you miss? Getting coffee with them, seeing them, touching them, hugging them, right? That's all the body. All the body. So if you like, to use your word, if we transcend that, then we realize it's infinite, and we realize there's nowhere for this energy to go, and that we're all still here. We've just dropped in the body.
Right, because energy cannot be created nor destroyed.
Right, exactly.
Right. Wow.
It just transforms. Right. So my dad is still here. My grandmother, your ancestors are still here. We're all still here.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that definitely gave me more clarity now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I always really, honestly, because I know when my grandmother, when she transitioned a few years ago, I really started to really, say to myself, it's just her body there. That's not her now.
Yeah.
She's somewhere, she just made that transition now.
Yeah.
Oh, and that definitely made me look at death differently now.
Yeah.
It was more like a celebration too, because my grandmother, she did, live long, as a human here on this planet we call Earth. But, again, it was more of a celebration. And then to know that she moved on to a different journey now.
Yeah. I like that life celebrations are more the norm now.
Yeah.
I think it's wonderful, a celebration of life. Like, let's wear white. Let's be happy. Let's not make it this morose, negative thing. There's no errors. There's no errors in this. There's no, everything is divine timing. There's people that go to commit suicide, jump off the garden, or what is it, that big bridge in San Francisco, right? The Golden Gate Bridge. Yeah. Right. And they live. And they're like, well, they just landed so perfectly that they live. It's not their time. There's all these miracles all the time, and it's not. I died 3 times. It wasn't my time, and that's okay. I'm here, and I just do the best and try to heal people till it really is my time. Nobody gets out of this alive. If it's an 8-year-old, instead of saying, "Oh my gosh, we look everything so negatively," her whole life was ahead of her. How about what a gift we got to know her for 8 years? We could have had none. What a gift. Throw it on its head. Throw it the other way. Look at it that it's a gift. One of the NDE survivors, near-death experience survivors, we all instantly lose our fear of death. You can't take that back.
You already experienced it, right?
Right. And it's bliss. It's freedom and love and joy and bliss. And all the lower vibrational emotions, fear, anger, hate, right? They're gone. You can't even remember them. You can't grab them. You can't get into it. You don't remember it. It's completely like erased. It's erased. It's just erased. And, and I get a lot of grieving people, and I'll connect with their past parent or someone, a loved one, and they feel very upset and they're grieving and everything. And I always can tell them through channeling and connecting with them as a medium, directly, the loved one, but then also I can share, the cool thing is I can share my experience as I've already died and say, no, like, I assure you they're in a state of bliss. Like, it's not like, I promise you. Like, so it's like a double, because there's mediums who haven't died 3 times or even once, and that's okay too. They have the same abilities or whatever, and that's fine. But I have the actual experience of no, I promise you it's bliss. I promise you that you can find a peace. What you miss is the body. They miss the body.
Oh.
That's
Yeah,
what they miss. They
that
miss
so much
getting
sense,
coffee with
possibly.
their mom and hugging them, and that's what they miss. But if they can get to that space in that spiritual journey, then there's more freedom. All
Mhm.
healing is about freedom, getting
Freedom.
free. That's what it is. You
Wow.
peel some layers, you go a little higher. You peel some layers, you go a little higher. You heal, you peel some layers, you go a little higher until you feel a level of freedom and you don't feel trapped to the trauma of the past or the current or whatever trauma or pain is in your life. You
Right.
face it head on, you go through it, you feel all of it. It's very uncomfortable at first, but you have to heal it. And then you go higher and let it go. I have an ability that I believe is rare where I can channel and connect to people's past lives and their experiences. So
Mm.
people want to know what they were in a past life. One of my best friends was a baker in a past life. So I challenged her and I said, well, I want you to get baking cookbooks because she doesn't cook. I love her.
Wow.
I love her. Anna, I love you. Doesn't cook. She just never has. And I said, okay, well, maybe cooking's not your thing, but you were this incredible baker in a past life. So get a baking cookbook, right? And just
Wow.
try baking. I don't know if you've done it yet, so I'm scolding you, but I challenged her to do that. But then if it's something traumatic that's bleeding through in this lifetime that's holding them back, and it's like marrying that same abusive guy or whatever it is, and it comes from a past life experience, I can connect to that past life and heal it there.
Oh, wow.
I heal it there. I change if with permission. Everything I do healing someone is with permission only. If it's a
Okay.
lesson or whatever, I have to leave it in peace. It could be anything from ALS, which is very heartbreaking, or a dark entity attached or whatever. If I get that it's not the time and it's a lesson, I have to leave it in peace. One, the energy won't work and flow anyway. And two, I'm a light worker and I don't want any bad juju or weirdness going on. I don't do anything that's not of the light of God. That's how I work. But yeah, it's really an interesting thing because I can go back, change the trajectory of that experience, and then that bleed through finally goes in peace. If they have permission, they've learned enough of it and they can let it go, I can heal it there. So for instance, I've done it a bunch of times, but for instance, I had a woman that moved to Rhode Island, the ocean state. It's like
That's what they
beautiful
call it,
beaches.
really? The Ocean State?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the ocean state, and people come from all over the world. We have incredible beaches here.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and she moved here and she couldn't swim. She was so terrified of the ocean. She wouldn't get in it.
Wow.
So I had her on the table and I went, okay, this session was in person. I do a lot on Zoom because energy's everywhere. It works just as strong. I've had people say it's stronger at distance, which is wonderful.
Wow.
But I watched her drown in a past life. So she's terrified of the water. And I healed it there and pulled it through. And basically from that, 2 weeks later, I got a text message. I'm swimming. Perfect.
Wow.
Great.
Wow.
Freedom. That's freedom, right?
Wow.
So people have fears of heights. They don't know why. If we have this like irrational fear in this lifetime, that's where it's from.
Yeah.
You know, or a prodigy, right? Like a prodigy. Oh, there's this 3-year-old and he sits at a piano and he plays perfect Beethoven. He's never seen a piano. No, what the word prodigy? Take that word, throw it in the garbage, right? It's
So
like
you don't believe in
coincidence.
anything being
No, it's a
natural?
coincidence. Take coincidence, throw it in the garbage. That's 2 words that don't exist. Makes me nuts. If everybody looked at things with a spiritual lens, everything would make more sense. Everything would be so much easier. So that kid, probably in more than one past life, was a pianist, clearly.
Wow.
And probably to be that good, probably in more than one. Because think about it. When we learn sports as a child, there's usually 1 or 2 that we're like naturals at, right?
That's very true. Yeah.
For me, it was softball. I could go outside right now and hit a ball, no problem.
Wow.
I just could do it, but I can't play basketball and I can't kick a soccer ball and I can't, you know what I mean? Like I tried all that. I tried gymnastics. I was horrible, you know, but there's something I clearly played baseball or softball or something like it in a past life because it was like, oh yeah, all day. I played it as a kid. you
Wow.
know? So, and I'm a third generation dancer, ballet, tap dance, all this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. And I never had to try. I literally put ballet slippers on at 5 years old and was like, yeah, I get it.
Mm.
So these are things we've mastered and we've already done. That's what this is. It's not prodigy. That's ridiculous. It's
Because I
funny.
would question that too. Is like people always tend to say, "Oh, he's a naturalist," you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is true though. You make a lot of sense though. Like that definitely had to come from somewhere though, because
Yeah.
for you to just do something without
He's three
being
years old. It's so
that,
hard to learn. Try
yeah, yeah.
piano now. I mean, you're like, and the foot pedals, like there's a lot going on.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh man. But I want to by the way, I really appreciate you being on our platform, and definitely you very, very, very valuable information you're providing right now. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people's going to take a lot from this episode. I just got one last question though, because I don't want to, definitely want to keep, hold you, too long. But how do you continue to basically educate yourself more and develop your own skills and knowledge
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
spiritual healer?
Yeah. So I get a lot of downloads and information on what to do in deep meditations. I
Okay.
also get visions. I go on vision quests and just throw me the beings I work with, just throw me into visions. There's also a native chief. I've been a healer in many past lives, and three of which I know were native healers, indigenous healers. And there was a chief specifically in one of the past lives that believed in me, and I was his apprentice, and he loved me and showed me everything. And he works with me in every session I do. He's right there guiding me,
Wow.
helping me, and teaching me and everything. I was with a native elder, and he told me that I have 18,000 years of wisdom in me, handed down. So a lot of it's intuitive, and it just comes to me. So I founded something called energy release therapy, ERT for short. My very first session with someone, very first, there was no warm up. They threw me right in.
Oh, they're just doing it like it.
Yeah, it was like, whoa, you've definitely done this before. And so what happened was I had somebody on the table, and basically I heard in my left ear. I usually hear things in my left ear. I heard, this woman is not sad about her divorce. She's angry. Go into her liver and pull it out. And I went, okay, well, all right. Ancient indigenous and Eastern medicine is liver is anger, like kidney is fear, lung is grief,
Oh,
heart
so they
is,
have a. I
yeah.
didn't
So
know that.
there's the different emotions go to different organs. So acupuncture works that way, acupressure, Chinese medicine, different things like that for thousands and thousands of years. Indigenous also understands that in different cultures around the world, the different emotions that affect different parts of the body. And so I knew
Hmm.
that. I knew it wasn't new to me. I went, okay, I've had acupuncture before and different things. I said, okay, so it's liver, it's a liver emotion because she's angry. All right. So I did this jellyfish thing. I don't know what I'm doing at the time. So this is years ago. So I take my hand, I do this jellyfish thing like this, and I pull it into me. So I feel terrible. And she's crying and releasing and going through this whole crazy thing on that, like having this like really transformative, like amazing experience, right? And I'm
Wow.
going, oh my gosh. And I'm pulling it into myself, like, oh, and I'm like completely out of it. So through meditations, the buddies I work with help me figure out what it was. And a lot of indigenous healers, shamans, and things of that sort, we can get permission and pull things out and remove things. It could be
Right.
emotional, physical, whatever it is. We pull it out and we remove it. Where I'm also like Reiki master. There's a million things on my website. You can see the million different things that I've trained in or that I've learned and done. That's like putting energy in. And indigenous, like energy release therapy, is I'm pulling the energy out. I'm pulling it out.
Okay.
So I pulled it out, and that's what I called it, and that's what I do. And it's changed through the years. Like I work it in a different way, and it's morphed and definitely changed as I do this stuff. To speak to your point, your question, so it's a lot of it's intuitive, and then things will just come to me. Like in a session, I'm highly connected, like almost in a trance sort of. And so things will just come to me, and then I'll go, oh, I never tried it that way. Well, let me try that. And then I'll do that. And then I'll,
So
things
you're
like,
learning more. You're learning as you're going, though.
yeah, some of it is I learn as I go. Yeah.
Wow. And that often happens too, though. And then I think anything too. You're right.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Right.
Whew, my God.
I know.
I'm trying to absorb everything like you're telling me right now.
I know.
But,
It's a lot. And, it's always been Allison, my whole life. Oh, you talk too much. You talk too much. And you know what it is?
mhm.
You know what it is?
What is it?
My Mercury is in Gemini. A
Oh,
communicator. Yeah, I'm a talker. I'm a communicator. It's like, I got into astrology like, I don't know, 25 years ago.
Okay.
I lived in New York City for 12 years, and I worked with this woman who was really cool. She was older and funky, and she rode this cool bike, and she was like really cool and interesting and unique. And I worked with her, and I did something. I got frustrated with something, and she looked at me and she goes, "Huh, what are you, a Cancer?" And I went, "Yeah." And she goes, "What are you? 70? What are you, dragon Cancer? What are you, Cancer dragon?" I go, "Yeah. What?" And then she just walked away. And I went, oh, no. Like, she just pegged me. She just totally like called me out. Like, I was like, what?
Wow.
And then I said, well, that's really fascinating. So I bought a book and I looked online and I started to research everything. And I looked at everything. And basically, I realized like the natal charts and the planets and everything, and it described me to a T. And it was like amazing. And this whole light bulb went off. And now I do the same thing. I'll be at the grocery store and there'll be a cashier who's like daydreaming, drifting off. And I go, huh. And she'll come back. Oh, I'm sorry, to check me out. I go, what are you, Pisces? And she's like, yeah. And I go, what do you wear your shoes till they're like totally falling apart? And she's like, yeah, because that's a very Pisces thing. You can peg a Pisces if their shoes are falling apart. And I go,
oh my God, I'm laughing so hard because I'm a Pisces. And I could relate to that. I could attest to that 100,000%. Oh my God, this is oh my, this is crazy.
So anything, like, to your point again, like, we just get better at things, right? Any job, anything that we do, this is still like my work, it's a gift and I'm grateful to do it. And there's a financial energetic exchange that happens, of course, for the energy of it. But that's not what it's about for me. It's about helping people. The money finds a way. It's the bills get paid. Everything's fine. Again, get out of the scarcity mindset and get out of the way, and everything will be fine. But yeah, that's funny. So you can do that too. Call people out that are Pisces with their shoes are falling apart. Fun, because it trips them out.
Oh
like
man,
like that woman tripped me out years ago. Back in New York, I was like, oh my gosh,
wow.
I feel called out. So yeah.
It puts you in a very awkward position right there.
Yeah.
Oh man, like just now too. I'm laughing, but I'm like, come on. She's really making some sense right now. Like this. Oh man. And mind you, I really didn't get involved with astrology. Not too, like, it was about a few years ago. I really started to learn more about it. I believe we're in the age of the Aquarius now, or
past
the age of Pisces right now, right?
Yeah.
Just past it, or
yeah.
That could be a different episode. I'd love to have you back on and really elaborate more about astrology because I definitely want to learn more about it. Definitely.
Yeah.
At first, I just was kind of skeptical. Me, I'm just being logical.
Yeah.
I just said to myself, how could really, determine one's personality based on the month and day.
Right. I like to look at it this way. Why can't we look at mystery that it's just infinite? We don't have to make it like contained into something. We can look at mystery as everything is possible. Everything. Like they sent Marco Polo over to explore from Europe. And he goes to India and he sees the gurus, and they're levitating and bending spoons and meditating and doing all the cool stuff that they do. And he came back and said, oh my gosh, if people know how strong they are and how powerful they are, we'll lose everybody. So they made all of that bad and evil. That's what it's about. It's control. And we are infinite beings. We are infinite loving beings.
Absolutely.
That we are completely limitless. We are every breath of every day, even though Earth is a hard school, it's still a gift. We're
Right.
still here. And what are we going to do with it? The universe is like you have a video game controller and you get to control your life. Whatever you put out is what you get back, like we said.
Right.
So what are you going to do to control your life? That's
True.
that's all that it is. So we're co-creating our lives with the universe.
Absolutely. Especially like in these more developed nations that they really suppress that and they make it seem as it's primitive, knowing that it's like these practices has been going on for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate though that we don't really see it like the way you guys see it, the way you see it.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's sad.
Yeah.
You think about Dr. Sabi as well, like he just had like cures for things that no one believed him.
Yeah.
But I think it's just the Western world, and definitely, the system we're living in too definitely makes it a lot more difficult for people to really open up their eyes and see the world differently.
But I think a lot of people are waking up faster and
I think
faster.
so too.
And I think younger people are really getting it quicker. And so as things shift and grow, the consciousness of the planet, we need collective consciousness to awaken, to really shift things into a 5D Earth. And it's happening. We're doing it.
Do you think something actually has to happen? Like, I don't want to put it out there, but do you think something bad has to happen first in order for it to be?
No.
Okay.
No, I think it's already, the ball is rolling.
It's already rolling.
Yeah, with the internet and with different things, and younger people are much more open and aware. And I think and these things are more like astrology, like all these things, crystals, it could be all this different spiritual stuff. It's more normalized now. Like I went vegan so many years ago. It was, I don't know, over 25 years ago. Yeah. And I was vegetarian before that. But basically, like, there was like no options. Now it's like, oh, you don't like that plant milk? Well, you can have 15 other types. Like, it's crazy. And wow. The vegan cheeses and the sour cream.
Oh, it's all out there now. Yeah, it's crazy now.
It's crazy. So when I run into somebody now in 2023 and they're like, well, I could never be vegan, I'm like, I did it when there was no vegan cheese. So just sit with that for a second. I'll give you a minute. We'll just sit a beat on that. There was none. Zero.
I know.
There was pizza without cheese. That's what there was. Nothing.
Yeah, you're right.
And when the first one came out, I made a baked ziti.
Mm.
And I like cried eating it because I hadn't tasted that in so many years.
Oh.
But I just did it because to me, it felt like the right thing to do. I couldn't hurt other sentient beings. I just couldn't, it was so out of alignment for me and so painful that I got out of it as a young teen. And I never looked back.
Wow.
Definitely. I just couldn't.
Right. Yeah. Right now in the moment, I am a pescatarian.
You're on your way. That's pretty good. You're on your way. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I know it's going to be, a transition, but because when I made a transition as a pescatarian, it was difficult because all your life you've been eating.
Yeah, but that's huge already. That's a big step. And I did it in stages too. So I don't judge anybody to not go vegan overnight or whatever, and people are going to do what's right for them. But we want to live in harmony with Mother Earth and Father Sky. And, these things are really important. And we need to honor that. And we need to be in alignment with that. And we need to respect her and not take too much and not do these things. We need to keep in a balance. Right. And we also want to live in nonviolence the best that we can. And if you're taking that violence and death of another being that wants to live into our own bodies, what is that doing to us? What is that doing to us? You know,
Yes.
they started to study it in Northern Europe actually a couple of years ago at the point when they're killed, the stress hormones, and then what that does to our bodies ingesting all the stress hormones. So they're starting to like think about it in different ways. So like hopefully people will live a
That's
little.
true because you are what you eat. That's something that I
Yeah.
always thought about.
Well, our
Yes.
body is a temple, right? So if we're doing like hard drugs and we're doing, a lot of alcohol or these different things, it's going to change our frequency because our
Mm.
body is like fighting these toxins and like trying to purify itself. And the same thing with like fast food, all this fried food, salt, sugar, all this stuff. It's just making it more of a slog and like harder for us to be more healed and at a higher vibration. So if people care about spirituality and vibration, they might want to think about like Dr. Sebi stuff, like you mentioned, that's a good way, different ways to like get into just a cleaner diet. And whatever that is for them is what is for them, but tread lightly. I always say try to tread as lightly on the earth as we can.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
best we can. Nobody's perfect, so just
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
best that we can. Just be
Um,
conscious of it.
yes, absolutely. I am. And I think a lot of people, especially, I eat now more plant-based stuff now. That's how I
Yeah,
kind of like cover myself now when I eat a burger. I make sure it's
yeah,
plant-based,
yeah.
but
Yep,
definitely. But Allison, thank you
yep.
so much for coming to our platform. For listeners and viewers though, where can they find you and learn more about your work?
Okay, so I'm going through kind of a rebranding right now. My native name that was given to me in ceremony is Little Feather. So I'm thinking of rebranding to AllisonLittleFeather.com, but either way, both my old website will still redirect to it.
Okay.
So right now it's Allison Holiday. You'll have to put it up on here because everyone spells
Yeah,
it
yeah. It's
differently.
gonna be there for our viewers.
Yep. Yeah, so it's just my name right now, AllisonHoliday.com. They can reach me there and look at all my services and my bio and different things. And there's a contact form and you can sign up to an e-newsletter. I'm going to be sending that out. I've been meaning to do it for a year and a half, but I have a business coach person now helping me, which is wonderful, which is much needed. So that will be going out once a month with all my groups and classes and different events and different things that I'm doing. Yeah, so that's just great. Just through my website, it's probably the easiest way. And again, I work on Zoom with animals and people all over the world. And there'll be different rollouts of different things this year as well. The second half of the year, I'm working on some different online classes and some different online groups and different happenings that I'd like to do for people.
So beautiful. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Allison.
Yeah. Thank you.
I definitely learned a lot. I still got to absorb a lot. I definitely got to go back and watch this episode. But yeah, and I'm pretty sure that our listeners and viewers definitely absorbed a lot too. And
Okay.
thank you so much for really providing so much information. I think it was
Yeah.
much needed for a lot of people because there are questions though when it comes to healing and spirituality and
Yeah.
people that go through certain things. How do they actually heal? So I mean, you definitely laid it out very well. At least to me for sure. And I thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
Thank
of course.
you.
Thank you.
But we usually ended up with a final thought. But I think you kind of said everything really. I don't think you really actually need a final thought.
Well, let
But
me just say one then.
go ahead, go ahead.
Love everything. That includes yourself. Love everything. Yes, everything.
Wow, that is just perfectly said right there. Love everything, because I mean, love conquers everything, right?
Right. Love is our greatest healer. It's our greatest connector. Love is all we are. And that's all we're here to do is to love everyone and love everything. So at times it's really hard to love someone that's activating us or triggering us, right? But that's all the more call to love them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
Mm.
Oh my God. Well, we're gonna sign off. Thank you again.
Okay.
Holiday, Native American medicine woman, healer, and medium.
Yeah.
And also a animal communicator.
Yeah.
I may have you want communicate to my birds one day.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to.
Oh my God. But again, though, thank you so much, though, Allison. And then
Okay.
for listening viewers, make sure you guys stay tuned and click like, subscribe to our channel, John Tavar 80.6 LLC. And we appreciate you guys.